is this?
I got like mute. Ooh, I see you, Rose. I see you.
Alrighty. We should be live on Facebook, on YouTube now.
Put mute. Wait a minute. I cut it off.
You can ask Sandra.
Okay.
All right, let me go back to this. Hold on one moment.
It says Grace back. And I can hear you. Okay, so what? I understand.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
All righty. So I want to go ahead and get started because we have an exciting class today. Today, we get down to the nitty gritty of dealing with building a budget. So what I'm going to do for the first, gives a few more people some time to log in. I'm going to play a 6-minute video clip from the homework assignment that you guys should have already done. So this is a recap video that we're going to watch. It's about 6 minutes and we'll dig right into it. So it gives time to start recording now. Okay, I'm recording. And let me go ahead and share this video.
See this now. See the last red line? You see the red line?
Mine went away.
I just heard her.
I don't know what mine is doing.
All right, let me mute everyone real quick. All right, I'm gonna make sure everyone is muted right now until we get done with this video. Okay, everybody muted themselves. Good, thank you. So let's go ahead and share this then. Respectfully turn it on.
How many of you grew up like I did, not rich? Well, don't be so happy about it. My wife Sharon and I, we got out of college, got married, we were broke. Started off eating off a card table, driving a 1902 Pinto. For you young people, that's a car, not a bean. I started buying and selling real estate in my early 20s, starting from nothing. I got rich, at least by a kid from Antioch, Tennessee standards. By the time I was 26 years old, I had about $4 million worth of real estate, a little over $1 million net worth, and I was making $200,000 a year. It was fun, but I had done some stupid stuff with money. How many of y'all ever done something stupid with money? We spent the next 2.5 years of our life losing everything we owned and changed the trajectory of our lives. I met God on the way up, but I got to know him on the way down. It changed the trajectory of everything. My faith, my marriage, my business acumen, my leadership skills, everything started shifting and forming around this. And now here we stand all these years later. It's amazing. Not only did we straighten up Dave and Sharon Ramsey, but we told other people what we did, and some of them started doing it. And so we started figuring out that good financial planning and applying these principles in order works, and we call them the baby steps. Baby step 1 is you save $1,000. Baby step 2, as soon as you've done that, is you work the debt snowball. And then baby step 3, once you've done that, you go back to that $1,000 and raise it up to a fully funded grandma's rainy day fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. Once that's done, then we do 4, 5, and 6 simultaneously. We start working on retirement, kids' college, and any extra money we throw at paying off the house early. And then that brings us to baby step 7, where we just live and give like no one else, where we build wealth and we're outrageously generous. Baby step 1, $1,000 in your starter emergency fund, your beginner emergency fund. You see, this is your easiest baby step because it's only $1,000. Some of you already got $1,000. Just name it baby step 1 in your mind right now. Check you're done with this one, right? But some of you don't have squat. And you got to have a garage sale this weekend, and you got to put everything on Craigslist this weekend, and you don't need to see the inside of a restaurant again unless you're working there, right? You got to start piling up some money and get you $1,000. It's the easiest baby step. It's easy because it's only $1,000. It's the hardest because this is the point in the process. You're going to decide whether or not you're a freaking genius or not. Are you going to keep doing stuff the way you've been doing and expecting a different result? That's the definition of insanity.
I am a spender, and I hated budgeting. That's right. Some of you probably just fell out of your seats that Dave Ramsey's daughter hated budgeting, but it's the truth. It is just not naturally what I'm good at. I'm kind of not great at details, and just the idea of budgeting was always so hard for me to grasp. I actually could understand it, but doing it is what was difficult. I felt so out of control with my money that I had no clue where my money was going. And that's the moment I realized that a budget does not limit your freedom. A budget gives you freedom. A budget gives you permission to spend. Now, in relationships, we have spenders and we have savers, and we have nerds and we have free spirits. Now, the nerd enjoys doing the budget. The nerd loves this, right? The nerd is so excited that I'm talking about the budget right now. You probably are pulling up Excel right now and you're just pumped, you're so happy. Now, that's Winston in our marriage. And then you have the free spirit who feels controlled by the budget. And that's me. Naturally, that's how I feel. And you have to understand, you both add such value to the budgeting process. The free spirits give the nerds a life. We give the nerds fun. We say, hey, you can enjoy life. But the nerds help us free spirits not go broke. So you have to realize neither one is right or wrong. You're just different. So how do you come together when there's such differences and make this work? Well, we call this the budget committee meeting. Now, in the budget committee meeting, you will meet with your spouse to review next month's budget. So here are a few rules for this, okay? Nerds, you need to create the budget. Why? Because you're good at it. You like doing it. We think it's a little weird, but you do. You enjoy it. So create the budget. And then when you're sitting with your free spirit, thank your free spirit for being there, because they probably really don't want to be there. But thank them for their presence. This is great. And then I want you to show the budget to your free spirit and then be quiet. Don't say anything else. All your opinions, nerds, are on the budget. Be quiet. All right, free spirits, you must come to the meeting. You have to show up. You also have to be realistic, and you can never use the phrase, whatever you want to do. It's all going to be fine, whatever you want to do. You can't say that. And also, free spirits, you have to have an opinion and actually change something on the budget. Now, this can be something small. I mean, seriously, you could just lower the food category by $50 and up maybe your gas category by $50. Whatever you want to do. You can make it really small changes, but you have to change something. Because when you do this, you start working together and you start to see that this whole process starts to work. And when you're intentional with your money, you will find that the budget gives you control you never knew you had. But you must do a budget every single month before the month begins. This will be a key to your success. Okay, so how do you budget? Well, we're gonna walk through a sample budget and we're going to use EveryDollar. This is an incredible app that our team created, and it makes it so easy, you guys. It's so great. Your first line item is giving, like we talked about. So 10% there, which will be $400. And then you'll go to savings, which will be different, but for this example, we'll say 10%, which is $400. but again, could change depending on where you are in the baby steps. Now, doing a budget is critical to your success, you guys. Not only in baby step 1, but throughout this entire course. People who win with money happen to their money. They don't let their money just happen to them.
All right. There we go. Stop sharing. All right, what did everybody think about that little clip? Y'all can unmute yourself and answer me. All right, so here we go. Now I'm ready. All right, so that clip we dealt with, well, we're going to do with budgeting. First, who was able to do their homework assignment? All right, I see Sister Thomas. Good. And I know a few others did their homework assignment too. So tell me any challenges or anything, and again, not dealing with specific stuff that what your budget is or what you did, just what did you gain from either writing down all your expenses or watching the video that you watched this past week? Give me some kind of what you gained from it, what you like, what you don't like. Go ahead.
Gerald, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, for me, I waste money. And I didn't realize I wasted that much money on frivolous, unnecessary things.
That's good. Yes, yes. We realize once you actually, and that's why it's so important for the budget, but once you actually do a budget, you realize where that extra spending goes. And the funny thing, and we're not going to talk about credit cards today, but the funny thing is credit cards give you the ability to hide money that you don't have. We'll deal with that another time. But Sister Thomas, I think you unmuted. Did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, it just showed me, like, when I budget, and then I'll go out, and then I become frustrated because I'm like, why did I spend the money? Especially when I'm keeping myself on this budget, and then I turn around and spend that.
Yes.
So then what I have to do is I recollect that,
Yep.
I go back in my budget, I go back and put that money back into my savings. I said, now I wasted this much, and then I'll start regaining it. So
All right, good. All right, so now last month, what you should have done already is you wrote down everything that you spent for the month of February. From that, you get to create your March budget. And we're going to talk about all the steps into doing that. First thing, for anyone who did their homework, you would know what this is already. If you didn't, we'll go through it right now. So I'm about to share my... All right, here we go. This, share. All right, can everyone see this?
yes, I can see it.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
All right, and at this point, I can't see you. So if you're waving your hands, you have to actually speak up. I cannot see nobody at this point.
Okay.
All right, so this should have already been done with your video, but some of you may have not had a chance to watch it. And I do know that I owe two people some these pages, so I'll give that to them this week. So baby step 1, does anybody know what baby step 1 is?
Yes. Save $1,000.
Save $1,000. So that's everyone's goal right now, according to this class. Can anybody tell me why that $1,000 is important?
That's going to be your emergency fund.
Yes, that's going to be your emergency funds. Some of you may have it, some of you may not have it yet. The goal is to save that $1,000 because using your credit cards as an emergency, you should not be doing. So you're going to save that $1,000 and that's going to be your emergency fund. If you already have it, put it aside and put an emergency fund on it. So you know that that's what that is. It's not your gas money, it's not your grocery money, it's your emergency money. If the car breaks down or something happens, you have that emergency funds that you can get into. That's going to be essential when you start to build your budget and you're starting to pay off debt because you have that safety net. Now, I have some people ask, can your $1,000 be bigger? You can do whatever you want, but the $1,000 is where you get started because the other money you're paying off debt to build wealth later. So it says baby step 1, save $1,000 for your starter emergency funds. If you live like no one else now, later you can live. And does anybody know what this next word is? Give like no one else. All right, so now we get to the budgeting part of it. So in the budget, if you watch the video, you know that you have to give it 3 months to get into a rhythm. As they said in the video, the nerd enjoying doing the budget, the free spirit feels controlled by the budget. And I'm not going to ask that question because we're actually going to do a little thing with nerds and free spirit later in class, and we'll deal with that at that point. Alrighty. So if the budget committee meeting, you will meet with your spouse, or if you're by yourself, with yourself, and review the next month budget. The budget gives you control you never knew you had. So a budget is not a trap for you to feel like you're in a trap. A budget is going to give you control over how you're spending your money and where it's going. As you beginning to create the budget, which we'll go over today, you're going to see, I know me and my wife, we were sitting down and looking at our budgets and stuff like that. And we moved some stuff around. We had something set up and we're like, well, no, let's move this, take a little bit of this and put it over there and take a little bit of that. And that's going to happen. So you have to make sure that you can be flexible with your budget, but it has to be consistent when it comes to making sure every dollar is accounted for when it comes to your budget. Now, budgets can be hard and budgets can be easy depending on sort of your mindset. If you know someone that if you're struggling with a budget and you know someone that loves helping with budget, if you trust them, go ahead and have them help you out. But I'm going to give you every tool through this program to set up a budget. But again, it's going to be up to you to follow your own budget and how bad do you want to get out of debt so that you're not controlled by debt. All right, now, as we do these homework assignments, it's not going to get, I say, easier because now you're dealing with your money. So you want to make your money work for you. So it must be a zero-based budget. That means your income minus expenses equals zero.
Betty Hahn?
Yes?
No, I'm just getting in the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Can anybody tell me why the budget must equal zero? Why we do a zero-based budget? Or give me a guess of why you think we do that. Someone?
That means that the money, every nickel, dime, penny, or whatever is accounted for, we've placed the money somewhere on the budget, whether it's in our savings,
yes,
in our emergency fund, or for a bill. But we've accounted. Josh, I can't hear myself talk. Every dollar has been accounted for on the budget, and so that means we don't have that frivolous money to go, oh, I got $50. Let me go out to the restaurant. Let me go buy a new pair of shoes.
Right.
Because we've accounted for the money somewhere on the budget.
Yes. Excellent. And I'm just going to use my family as the example. With our budget, we are planning on, when we sat down as a family to discuss our family plans for vacationing this year, we originally wanted to go to Hawaii. Of course, could we do it? Yeah, we could, but we wanted to look at the budget again and say, what's make more sense with our budget so that we can do a less expensive trip that we're not flying, we're not, doing all kinds of stuff. So when you want to do stuff, which is great, you may have to change your plans a little bit because you're concerned about your budget and you're trying to get debt free so you can build wealth later on. So again, Dave Ramsey, he talks about you should not be vacationing at all. We love vacationing. We need that time away for just our family because we're so busy all the time. So that vacationing, we put that into a budget line item for us. So we budgeted for it. Every month we put some money aside so that when we go on our vacation, it's paid for in cash or we don't have to put it on a credit card. It's paid for, it's done with. Same with our medical expenses. I have a line item for our medical expenses. Now, let's say I don't use that line item that month. That means that goes into our emergency medical fund so that if we down the road and we need it, we're not having to dig into my emergency funds to use it. We have a medical emergency fund. Again, that's something that we do. Even if it's $50 a month, we set aside whatever the amount it is. We know that we have kids and we're gonna have some medical expenses, and we'll rather budget for it now instead of using our emergency funds every time it comes up. Does that make sense to everyone?
I'm from Greystone Academy.
All right. So the next, was somebody trying to say something?
I think you need to mute them, Gerald.
Okay, here we go. Sorry. All right, let me get back to this. All righty. So can anybody tell me what the 4 walls are? Well, it's on here. Food, utilities, shelter, and transportation. And for anybody who watched the video, what does the 4 walls indicate? Oh, what is the 4 walls? Oh, what does it mean? Okay, I will tell you. The 4 walls represents your main things that you got to take care of: food, utilities, shelter, and transportation. And that's if a crisis happens, similar to the pandemic when it first took place. At that point, you stop paying off debt, and you, especially if you're got less income and you worry about the 4 walls: the food, utility, shelter, and transportation until you get back having income and stuff like that. All righty. So would anybody like to, well, no, we already did that. So we will continue forward with this. This nerd and free spirit quiz. I want you to take time real quick and do this. Just a few seconds. It has A and B. It says A for the first one. We'll go the first one together. You prepared for tax day months in advance. Either that's A, or B, tax day. That's in October, right? So throughout the whole list, you're going to mark either A or B. And then at the end, you're going to add it up and you're going to let, I want at least 5 people, if you can see this, to respond to what was your score.
I'm a nerd.
All right, so was that you, Sister Tavis?
Yes.
Yeah, I am a nerd too. I scored very high on it.
I am a free spirit.
And who was that?
Pam.
All right, Pam.
I'm a free spirit. This is Twana.
Okay. I need 2 more people.
Well, this is
Scared to come
Sandra.
off
I'm a free
mute.
spirit.
Okay.
I'm scared to come off mute because I never know if Josh gonna be out talking me. He moved his classroom or his little virtual meeting space in my meeting space on my desk. But anyway, I am a nerd.
Yep. All right, good. And this is just a good little fun thing for everyone to know sort of where you're at when it comes to your budgeting and stuff. And it's I enjoyed taking this when I did that. So I sort of knew what I was, but that's what it did. So already they talked about this on the short video, so we won't go over that real quick. I want to go to this because it's already 4:30. See what you're spending. We did this already. Everyone should have tracked what you spend in the month of February. The budget is your map for the month. So we're creating a zero-based budget with you can use every dollar, which is a very great tool. I use I created my own little thing on Excel sheet. But I will give you guys also attached to this is a budget starter. But there's a lot of different tools that you can use to create your budget, whether by hand or paper. Take a piece of paper, you write it all down. I'm very Excel. I mean, I put in the numbers and it adds it up, takes it away for me, so I don't have to mess up with my math. So our family uses that spreadsheet that I created. You can use anything you want as long as you're tracking it and you're actually accounting for every dollar that you spend. So step 1, write down your spending for the month, each item of each category. You don't know the exact number, just make your best guess. Add up each item in each category and write the total at the bottom. Add the number of all of the total boxes. So basically what we're doing is creating this budget right here. Everyone should have received this on their email last week when I sent this out. All right, so if you look on here, this is the first thing that's on here is your giving to church. And we talked about this in depth last week, your tithes, your offering. We talked about with a man robbed God. So we don't want to rob God in order to pay off our bills. So church is the first thing on there, your tithes and offering. You need to budget so that you so that you're able to give it. A lot of people say, well, I can't afford it. Well, you didn't budget for it. So you got your church, you got your food, groceries. When you're budgeting the payoff stuff, you're going to decrease your eating out. Some of you may need to do that. I know that I looked at, I think when I was talking to Pam yesterday, and I think Pam and the kids, and I was talking about how much I spent on Amazon in the last half of a year. I said we could have had our house paid off. Joking. I didn't spend that much, but at the same time, I spent a lot. And I was looking at all the items that I spent on. I'm like, do I even use that? I got a book from Amazon that I haven't even read yet. I think I made it through page 1. So again, so I cut my budget for spending in Amazon and on personal use a lot smaller now. You have your clothes, your phone, fund money, gifts, all of this stuff, transportation, house mortgage, and then you may have other categories that you use. Trying to think what category we have that's not on here. I can't even think what category. We have other categories that we use, like vacations for us. as I said earlier, we have a line item for vacation, a line item for our vacation, medical, and just other stuff that we put it into our budget so that we're making sure that we account for everything. I think we have a line item for kids spending, so that, and we put our kids on a limit, on a budget, so that we're not spending a lot on them all the time, and they learning what a budget is too. Saving for getting something, a big ticket item, you save for it. Any questions with this zero-based budget? No questions? Let me stop sharing real quick so I can see faces. All right, so have everyone wrote down their February's, how much they spent on everything, and able to start building a budget from it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good, good. All right, so that's going to be your big thing, is to sit down this week and really create a budget. And when you're creating that budget, it has to be a budget that you're able to live by. Now, what we did is, the first thing is to save that $1,000. If you don't have $1,000 set aside for emergencies, on that budget, you need to make, that needs to be one of your line items, your emergency fund. If it takes you 6 months to save $1,000, if you gotta pick up another job, or a part-time job, or sell stuff on the Facebook market, everybody knows how to sell stuff on Facebook market, stuff that you don't need no more. Of the 100 pairs of shoes you have, I'm guaranteed you can sell 25 pairs of shoes and get your $1,000. $1,000, that's essential, that's important, you need that, you set that aside. So then after that, you start, which next week we'll go into the debt snowball in detail of paying off debt even more. So any questions about the $1,000, and any questions about starting to build your budget? All right, let's move on. All right. Okay, discussion. This is where change happens, in a safe place where you can talk about real life. So, number one, think about a time when an emergency stressed you out. How would a starter emergency fund have made that a stress-free emergency? That's some question I'm asking to anyone that wants to answer it. Thinking about a time an emergency stressed you out, or emergency happened, and if you would have had that starter, that emergency fund, it would have been a lot less stressful because you would have been able to deal with it. Can anybody give their, you have to go into detail, just give us your thoughts on that question. I need someone to share with me.
Girl, can you repeat the question?
Yes. Think about a time when an emergency stressed you out. How would a starter emergency fund have made it a stress-free emergency? So basically, something emergency happened, you needed money, but you didn't have it. But if you would have had it, it would have been a lot less stressful. Now, I can think of a few of them, but I guess you guys haven't had that yet.
When my car broke down last year, it was a big expense. So that's probably mine.
That's a good example. Transportation breaks down, and you don't have that extra money to pay for it. That's good.
My air conditioning unit.
Air conditioning unit, yes. That's another one. Well, I guess I'll share. I'm gonna flip this question around. I'm gonna share something positive with you guys. So let me stop sharing for everybody can see me. All right, so we had an emergency that happens at our house. Matter of fact, just this week, our wash machine pump went out and our dishwasher went out. Both of them at the same time. So we have what it's called American Family, American Home Shield. Pam, I don't know the name of it. It's the insurance company, that you purchase every month. And
American Home Shield.
American Home Shield, thank you. Warranty. So we have that, and our copay is about $125. So emergency happened. We paid that $125 because we had that line item already, and they came in and they're currently fixing our washing machine and our dishwasher. So that's something that what we decided to do is we made a line item and we pay every month a fee, a small fee under $50, so that if something as an appliance breaks down or something in our house, we pay one fee so that we can budget for that $125, and they come out. If they can't fix it, they replace it. That's something that I have kept personally, because when something breaks in my house, I don't want to try to come up with thousands of dollars sometimes to fix it. I pay a small fee per month insurance so that they can come out and fix it. So that's another example of something that could have stretched us out, but it didn't. All right, let's go to the next question. All right. What are some categories that you think might bust your budget? What can
Gerald,
you
I'm
do
slow
to
with
keep?
responding because I was on mute.
Oh,
I
go
had
ahead.
I had an emergency. My furnace went out, and I have choice home warranty. But because it was so cold and everybody was having an emergency, they couldn't come for 2 or 3 days.
Oh, yep. Wow.
They couldn't come for 2 or 3 days.
Man, yep, that is an emergency. Question 2, what are some categories that you think might bust your budget? What can you do to keep those categories under control? This is what I need some feedback from you guys.
I guess it's dependent on what the problem is. Like you said, you have the home warranty, and that right there is a good thing because that won't deplete your budget.
Right.
So then if we, sometimes you may possibly, depending, maybe 2 or 3 things may go out at the same time. And that too, several things, because like you said, the washer went out, the dishwasher went out. So we can have things like that happen, at one time. It seems like everything wants to break down at the same time. And possibly that could also deplete your budget, especially if you don't have a warranty, a home warranty.
That's good. I know that for, I hope more people will talk, but I will say, going back to the question, one of the things in the categories for budget may be eating out. If you're spending $500 a month on eating out, and that can, how do you keep that under control? By spending less money, budgeting half of that. So you take that other half and you're able to pay off something, or you're able to put that on another line item. Again, you want to make sure every dollar is accounted for. So you're letting your money know how to work for you. All right.
Well, they're right there, Jill, sending them over their budget because they spending that much out. They need to go to the grocery store.
Exactly. Yes. And maybe because you didn't write stuff down, you didn't notice it. And I'm going to pause right here because it's only 4:43, so we got plenty of time. And again, I'm not going to talk about credit cards right now. That's not the purpose of this, but I'm just going to bring this up. Credit cards is a good way for you to hide what you don't have. Give you an example. I want to go and get me, let's say, a new whatever I want to go get. I don't have the money for it right now. Instead of putting it on my budget and waiting a few months to save up and buy it, what do we usually do? You go grab your credit cards and you buy it. Okay, I'll pay it off in a few months. Oh, I see something else I want to get. You don't have the money. What do? You take that same credit card and you spend it. What do? You take that credit card and you spend it. So that's why credit cards, if you don't properly know how to use them and use them correctly, that can cause you to get more and more in debt. A lot of people love credit cards. And again, we'll talk about this later. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with credit cards. I personally don't like credit cards. I do use them, but I tend to pay mine off on a daily basis or at least by the end of the month. And that's, if I use my credit card, it's according to my budget. I have a budget to buy stuff, so I use the credit card for that line item budget, not off my budget. Does that make sense, everyone? All right, let's get to this. All right. So one question is, if you watch the video, they taught you about envelopes method. Some of you guys may use it. I personally don't use the envelope method because I don't like cash. But is there anyone that have used the envelope method, and is it effective for you guys?
My
Anyone?
aunt used to have me use that method, and when I lived in Texas, and like I said, unfortunately, I worked at an all-male maximum security prison as a chaplain, and I learned so much there that I stopped using checks and I stopped using cash from working at the prison because of the things that I witnessed there. And so, but at the time when I was using it, when I lived in Texas, it worked fine. And my aunt taught me about that. I think she was a follower of Larry Burkett before he passed away, way before Dave Ramsey. And he recommended this method of using the envelope system. And so she told me about that. And it did work for me. When that was gone out of my budget, then I had no more money. You know, I couldn't do that. And I couldn't take money out of, let's say I had an entertainment fund or entertainment envelope. I couldn't take money out of my gas envelope to put in my entertainment envelope because Coming to America Part 2 came out. And so I couldn't take money from there to spend on that. So that was one of the things that I liked about that. With the cash concept, when the money is gone, it's gone. And I do the same thing with my debit card now. When I get paid, the first thing I do is I take out my tithes, pay all my bills, and then whatever needs to go until I zero down. When the money is gone, I look back at the account. The kids was like, well, can I have money for Xbox? Don't you see this account balance say zero? The money may be somewhere else. They don't know where it's at. But when they look at my account, it says zero. So I have it in another savings account, another card, another place, but it's not in my bill paying money where they're, because my kids have my username and password to log in. And so if something ever happens, Mom, there's no money there. No, because I do the same thing with electronic format that I would do with the envelope. When the money is gone out of that account, the money is gone out of that account. It's put somewhere else. So I tell people I have an emergency fund. It's just really an emergency. It's in Pennsylvania. My emergency fund money is in a bank account in Pennsylvania, and it got to really be an emergency for me to call Pennsylvania or contact that bank and have them send it to me here in St. Louis. I have a debit card, but it has to be a real emergency for me to pull it.
Good. And that's what emergency funds are for. Bishop?
Yes, Brother Gerald and class, when my wife and I are married, when we first married, we used the envelope method. And it worked very well. Until I went crazy and stopped. Of course, let me add this. This was before God taught me some sense. This was before I was saved. So I was pretty reckless in those years, but the envelope method works. It worked then. Of course, I don't use it now. I think there's a better method than that for us at this time. But yes, it worked well.
Good, Bishop. Yeah, there is a better method for most people. Some people really need that cash because it's easy to use a card and harder for some people to use cash. I personally don't like cash because I lose my wallet all the time. So if I have an envelope of money, I won't know where I put it at. The kids would have got into it. It would be disappeared fast. So I don't use the envelope method. I use, as Niera said, we have several different accounts that we use this account to pay this. So it's all, that's how we separate how our money needs to be spent. Again, I'm a nerd when it comes to that. I love dealing with numbers and I love dealing with money. So so that's one of the ways. All right, so now we're going to get to the ending part of this, which is our action steps. So personal finance is 80% behavior and it's only 20% head knowledge. So I keep saying that over and over because it's so true. Our behavior needs to change after we know the necessary steps to make a change. So number one, everyone should have a copy of this already. Knock out baby step one. Baby step one is save $1,000. Next, as you're saving your $1,000, you're still creating a budget. Whether you, and I don't care how you create your budget, you're creating your budget. It's a zero-based budget. You can use every dollar. You can use whatever method you use, as long as you're able to go back to your budget at the end of the month and make sure that you did nothing needs to be adjusted for the next month. Again, if you create a budget and you get to the end of the month and you see that your food budget, you went over $100, but your gas budget, you didn't spend $100, make them changes. I like to see visually where my money's going. So I write it down. I have it on the spreadsheet from me using any credit card, anything I use is on the spreadsheet and it has to match what my budget. If it doesn't, we have to refigure out what went wrong. So we haven't went over this part yet, which is completing your financial snapshot. So I am going to give you guys, it's called a financial snapshot. And what it is, it lists every single thing. And actually I will email that. I will actually do a little, maybe not a PowerPoint, but something on that next week to discuss what that financial snapshot is. And that's just listing out everything that you have financially, every credit card, every debit card, and all of that stuff. We talked about listing all of your debt. It is very important by next week that everyone on a piece of paper list out all of your debt that you have, whether your credit cards, it could be medical bills, whatever it is, list up all of your debt. And we're going to deal with that starting next week. All right. Okay, so whether you're on baby step 1 or 7, you need a budget. It's your map for every month, and it puts you in control of your money. What to pay off? You want to pay off debt? You need a budget. Want to build your emergency fund? You need a budget. Already investing? You're not off the hook because you still need a budget. You and not just any budget. That's right, a zero-based budget. So we talked about that. No matter what step you're on, you need a budget because that budget is going to map out how you're spending your money and how you're paying off debt. Again, I'm gonna reiterate, a zero-based budget simply means your income minus your expenses equals zero. Your income minus everything else equals zero. Every dollar, that means you give every dollar a job to do every month. Start with your income, list all your expenses, subtract expenses from income, track your expenses, be flexible. Again, we talked about a budget, but when you're dealing with your budget, you have your income. You list out all of your income and then all of your expenses on a sheet, whatever sheet that you use to track it. If you need any examples of sheets, I will email it out. But whatever it is, it gives you a visual right here that your income minus expenses must equal zero. All right. So again, if you got this little paper that I emailed everyone, whenever you complete your baby step one, which is $1,000 in the bank, whether you got $1,000 in cash, whatever it is, you can list that date down that it's already completed for your purposes. Again, the reason why you're going to see, and we're going to talk about a lot of actually writing it down, typing it up, whatever you want to do, is that you really want to put a visual to what you're doing. Again, your goal is to save $1,000 for emergency rainy day. Any questions anybody have? All right, so this is the easiest and the hardest step. Yeah, so I'm just gonna really just go over, we have 5 minutes left. I'll talk for another minute, then you guys can give your comments, ask questions. When you know that you have that extra money in your account for emergencies, it's easy to dig into that money when it's not an emergency because you know you have it. So again, make sure you 80% behavior, 20% knowledge. That behavior has to be, yes, I'm able to know that this $100 that I put for groceries, this $100 I put for gas, I'm able to do it. I can't even think of the word that I'm using that I need to think of. Self-control. Somebody help me out. Self-control. Whatever the case may be. I'll give an example. When we're fasting and you have to abstain away from food, it's almost the same concept as you're putting that money on a fast. You're going to not touch that money. You know, that food is tempting, but you're fasting unto the Lord. So that when you're fasting, you're not touching that money. That's self-control to not want to eat because you're fasting. You see a bigger picture. Same with this money. This money is, you don't want to use that money unless it's a really emergency because you're putting that up aside for a bigger purpose. Anybody have a statement, question?
Yes, it takes a disciplined life.
Discipline, thank you. That's the word, yes. Discipline. Discipline. And it's for some people it's hard, some people it's easy, but everybody has to work at it. It's discipline. Yes, thank you. Any comments, any questions? We have 2 minutes left. All right, so what I'm going to do is either this evening or tomorrow, I will be sending out the next video plus the next worksheet that we'll be working with. The next thing we're going to work on is paying off all your debt except the house using the debt snowball. So we're going to focus on the debt snowball and how to get out of debt and we're gonna deal with just a lot of debt next week, including just a lot of stuff maybe you thought about, maybe you didn't think about it. Definitely do your homework for this week, for week 2. Watch that video. It's a very good video, very good worksheets that go with that. A lot of information on dealing with debt, what debt is. We talked about it over the last 2 weeks, but they're going to really dig into the debt issue that we have in America, the debt that families get themselves into. But there's good news. If you can get yourself into debt, you can get yourself out of debt. So we're going to deal with that next week. Any questions, comments before we dismiss? All right. Well, I thank you for coming to this class. It is 4:59.
Elder
Yes.
Gerald.
Yes.
I didn't get to see the video, the first one.
Okay.
And so
Did Nieres, did we send her that video through were you not able to open it up, Sister Han?
no, I wasn't able to open it up.
Okay, so I think we can put it, Nieres, you may know, we can put that onto a
I can put it on the YouTube and send the link out,
okay.
or put it on Dropbox and send out a link.
Okay,
One
so
of the
we'll
two.
do that so for everyone can watch because after this week the first video will be deleted. So definitely watch the videos. We'll resend it to you, Sister Han, and then I will make sure on Wednesday I give you the paperwork along with Sister Berta needed the paperwork too.
Okay then, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Guys, very important that you guys try to watch it. Next week we got this is the purpose why. Well, put it this way. When you want to better yourself when it comes to financial, you want to follow these steps because it's gonna work. And I'm gonna share some stories over the next few weeks, maybe have some people on here to share their stories of how this system helped them out. And if you stick to it, again, I want everyone to understand this is not an overnight get out of debt thing that we're dealing with. It's going to take time. It's going to take years. And I'll share a little personal thing with me. I have another 3 years because of my student loans, 2 to 3 years before I'm debt free, for our household is debt free. It could be shorter, it could be longer. It depends on, we have a lot of student loans, well, not a lot, but student loans that we need to pay off. And a lot of our other debts done with. So it can take a year, less than a year, 2 years, 3 years. I know someone, it took them 5 years to get out of debt, but guess what? They're out of debt now. And now that they're out of debt, man, they are really doing some things with that money now. They're making that money. They're saving it. They got an emergency fund that they're working on. And now the next step is to, and we'll get into all of this. The system works if you stick to it. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. The system works. And then, okay, I saw somebody ask the question, and we're going to deal with that student loan and other stuff over the next week or two. Some different things of how to, some stuff dealing with the student loan. So you definitely don't want to miss the next several classes. Again, the system works. You have to trust it. You have to be dedicated to make it work. So I am finished. Sister Thomas, did you have to say any? I think, did you have your hand
good
up?
lesson. You did a great job.
All right. Bishop, do you want to say anything before we dismiss?
No, just that good lesson, as already has been said, and continue on.
All right, excellent. Dad, do you want to say anything before I dismiss?
No, I enjoyed.
All right, excellent. Then I'm gonna go ahead and Dad have you dismiss us, and then we will be finished.
Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you, Lord, for what our ears have heard and even our eyes have seen. We pray, God, that you help us to stay on course and to do the right thing. Now we commit this people into thy hands and keeping. Have your way in our life. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, excellent. Thank you. All right, we'll see everybody next Sunday. I will send out the homework assignment either today or tomorrow. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Gerald. Praise the Lord, everyone. Have a
Thanks,
good evening.
Gerald.
Okay, praise the
Yeah,
Lord.
praise the Lord.
Bye.
Bye.